Welcome to the Say Yes Movement podcast with Heather and John, where we help you with your professional and personal growth, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff. Hey, Heather, how are you?
I am awesome, John. I am full of energy. It's a new year, it's new energy that comes with it. And of course, I did not make New Year's resolutions because we are not resolving anything. Instead, I've made New Year intentions. And I'd
Woo.
love to talk about those intentions and that sort of one word focus process that we use to keep us on track and not get fussed about the weedy stuff. So, what is your intention for this year, John?
Yeah, no, listen. Well, before we even go there, I think we have to
Ooh.
preface on why having this word is so important. I know this is something that we talked about at the start of 2023, and this is where it's been, coming from. And what's been really interesting is I've been seeing more and more coaches out there doing the same thing. So I'm not saying that they're
Mhm.
copying our thing, but the one word to kind of simplify and be the guiding light for the year really sets, like you said, the intention for where you want to go. So I just wanted to
Mhm.
preface that and indicate why that is so important, because it gives you, it's kind of like that beacon in the dark, right? Like where you're going because you can see that word.
Well,
um
actually, John, why don't you tell us about your word for last year? Because how it shows up is really, really a great story. And then we can get into next year because I honestly I'm still fussed about my word for next year, and that's okay. I'm trying different ones on, but my word for last year definitely came together and brought me focus, brought me clarity, and
mm.
really it allowed me to play to my top of my game. So how about yours?
Yeah, no, listen, actually, kind of building on what you said with your word, and actually, I know we haven't shared it yet, but it's okay. We're just here to grab a little bit of your attention so you know where we're going. What I saw with your word, as you went through the year, it shifted. Like the word remained the
Mm,
same, but the meaning of it and what you were trying to do shifted, right? Because at the beginning
100%.
of the year, I think it was Ireland, and at the end of the year was Mongolia, and your
Yes,
word was still a guiding beacon for both, but it meant something slightly different. So we'll
that's
talk about
right.
that in a second.
Well,
But my word for 2023 was abundance, right? Just abundance and
mm,
everything that showed up: abundance in health, abundance in finance, abundance in relationships, abundance in everything that I did. And what was really interesting, I was never, there were moments, and listen, we all go through that, especially as entrepreneurs, where we feel like we're on a roller coaster. You have your highs, you have your lows. And the one thing I found is, keeping that word abundance. And actually, I wrote it on the board, right? I have, this giant wall in front of me. And one of the things I do is I put my key things, I put my vision board, I put my key word for the year. And having that word abundance just reminded me, no matter where I'm at, and no matter what I'm going through, abundance is still there. And that's what
mm.
kept guiding me through the year. And I really felt abundance in my health, which is what got me through to the finish line of the Ironman last year. And I don't want to keep talking about that, but to me, that was like such a big thing. And actually, I have, I'm supposed to be wearing the T-shirt for the Ironman, but it's actually up on my wall, so I can see that as a word. It's a reminder of that abundance that came through for me last year.
I
And
love that you've
abundance of
created this.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the environment that you've created around you, it doesn't have you have to think about these things. You're visually seeing them, and they're clues
Hmm.
and cues for how you're to show up, the decisions that you're going to make. And that is going to influence you, just like, the opposite can happen if you watch the news too much, or if you are hanging out with friends that aren't the best, support for you. That's the environment that you're creating. But you're actually saying, all right, my Ironman's there, my word's there, my vision board's there, and I'm not looking at it every day and studying it, but it's actually speaking to me. It's talking to
Yeah.
you. It's giving you that direction, that North Star for you. So, and I love also that abundance, I think probably at the beginning of the year, abundance was not as abundant as it was at the end of the year because it grew to, abundance of contacts, friends, influence,
Mm.
impact. So it became this guiding light for the things that you were going to do and the decisions that you made. And just like, my word was strength. It started with
Mm.
strength in my body. And what it became was strength in my body, strength in my belief systems, strength in how I was going to show up for myself and my family. And it really took a whole nother path that was not the original intent, but because it was a guiding light, it was one word that I'm like, how is strength going to pull me through this? It really helped me through all kinds of different scenarios. And
Mhm.
I feel like I haven't finished. I feel like Strength 2.0 might be my 2024 plan, but I'm still working through and I'm trying on some different words, John, because I think one of the things that's really important is that you don't want to get into analysis paralysis, but you also want to make sure that that word is going to serve you right through the whole year, because what you don't want to do is keep changing your own priorities, changing your
Yeah.
own plans, but let that one word sit there, simmer, and then see how it percolates everything in your life. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm going to commit on this call for what my word is, but Strength 2.0 is going to show up no matter what. It's already got a pathway for success for what I'm doing. But do you have your word for 2024?
Yeah, yeah, no, and so sorry. Just going back, you touched on a lot of different things, and I just wanted to kind of step in for a second. When we talked about environment, right? That's one of the things that we covered in our workshop when we did our reflection and goals workshop for 2024. We talked about environment being an important piece of what is an important piece of how we live our lives, right? And we talked about in the workshop how things enter our subconscious in two ways, right? One is through strong emotional impacts, right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
wedding or graduating or doing something big, but got you really excited, really happy, or something really negative. Like typically, negative things also create memories and beliefs in terms of how we live. The other part is through repetition, right?
Mm.
And even though things are just kind of sitting in the background, like when I go into a doctor's office, like it kills me. Like, why do you have the news on, right? I'm not going to highlight any specific stations, but if you want to put sick people into continue to keep them sick, have them listen to the news while they're waiting for your for their
Oh
health
man,
assessment,
John, that is so true. Like you're already anxious being in a doctor's office and then you're watching the news and getting more anxious. I never even
right?
thought about that, but that is so true. And that's because that's the environment. The other thing, you're sitting in the doctor's office waiting, and sometimes they have posters of all the diseases that you can get. And then you have hypochondria coming. So again, maybe this is a plea to our doctors. Maybe we could have some positive energy in the doctor's
Yeah.
office. Maybe there's a revamp of what that looks like. And I know, for a lot of the clinics that are there for your health and well-being, I see that it feels, you walk in, you're like, oh, I want to be here. I want to stretch. I want to feel strong. But
Yeah.
it's not at my doctor's office. It's definitely in those other kinds of clinics.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because there's a juicing store that's just in my neighborhood, and I've gone there and I've had a chat with the owner, and I said, the one thing I can't stand is watching the news. It's so bad for. He goes, I'm with you. That's why I never have the news up on because he's got a television up in his store, and he goes, I never have the news because it's so bad for you. I just want happy, good vibes, right? So he actually puts on YouTube and puts on some good vibes and stuff. It goes, it's so detrimental because those things are filtering into our subconscious. It's what we talked about in our workshop.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a replay to that, we can share that with you. Just send us a note. But it's so important to just realize, what you're repeating consistently. And there are things that are constantly repeating over and over that are creating your beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
And
good.
this is why,
I wanted to take,
this one word is so important. This is
yes.
because you're going to repeat it over and over again. And part of my journaling exercise is, how did strength, because that was my word, how did strength show up today or this week for me? And as I looked at the whole week, that's when I was like, wow, like you can always look backwards and see the
Mhm.
connection points. And I was like, strength showed up in so many areas that I didn't know I needed a little extra strength. And the same thing happened for you, John. Abundance showed up for you in all kinds of areas. So this word is so important to, and people spend so much time writing out these big goals and these big lists, and guess what, you're just going to feel overwhelmed with that. In
Mhm.
fact, taking that one word, then have it drive into your psyche And, I put it on sticky notes. I have it on my
Mm,
computer screen. I have it different places that I can see it. I've also put it right on my phone screen. So there's
yeah.
different ways that you can have it part of your environment and travel with you while you go.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you want, right? You want that message repeated over and over, right? Like that's how you create the belief that that becomes true. So
Hmm.
you that word, you want to be able to see it. Like even if it's just sitting off in the corner somewhere, like just in eyes view, your mind will go to it. It'll capture it and it'll start to process it,
Mhm.
right? And that's
Now,
why I
our
love
listeners
having that word.
have shared their words too. So, some of the words that people have chosen, and maybe John brainstorm with me. I want to be courageous. I want to have
Mm.
adventure. I want to have. I want to be
Contribution is
impactful.
another word. Yeah. Yeah.
Contribution. So these are some examples. John, do you think of any more? I know we have a list somewhere of all of ours, but I don't
There's
have
like
it
a giant
handy.
list. Consistency was another big word that
Hmm.
came through, but courageous is the biggest one, right? Like last year we talked about celebrate the risk, and that takes courage, right? Like just going back to that and just stepping into it. So find your word, and you asked me what my word is. Actually, I got two words for this year. And it ties back to my big vision of what I want to create, my intentions for 2024, and it's growth and impact, right? And actually,
Ooh.
that's I know. I almost feel like after talking about talking with you about this, it's like it should be abundance 2.0, but I feel abundance 2.0 ties into growth and impact. Um, yeah, growth and
So
impact.
you're
I
kind of cheating. We're telling everybody one word, and you've got two. What's going on
Okay,
here,
it could be
John?
growth. It could be growth. Growth, I kind of feel is selfish because it's just me. Like I want to continue growing, but I also want to help other people grow. That's where
Well,
growth
and
comes from.
and that's the clarity, right? That we want to give is that you may pick a word and it feels small at the time, but it's going to grow. So you said growth would be just me, but that's only your own definition now. You haven't seen how
Yeah,
growth is going to actually manifest itself. And of course, when you plant those seeds, then you water your garden, it grows. And
yeah,
if you're planting vegetables, everybody gets to eat the vegetables, right? So we'll see how this word, but impact is a really, really powerful word as well. And I wrote that down, and I'm going to explore that for myself for 2024 as well.
yeah. Well, I started thinking about what we did last year, and what 2023 represented. And we had this vision of impacting a million people through this podcast and
Hmm.
through all the different things that we do. I don't know if the final number was a million, but I know we got to at least 500,000 impressions with everything that we've done, right? And when I think about all the different platforms that we speak on, so the vision is still there. Like that vision for me, Heather, it still doesn't go away.
Changed.
Like we're still at impacting a million people, and I'm going to say positively, and with the intention of encouraging them to grow, right? So to get people
Mm.
to a better place than where they were. And I'm so excited for that because having sight, especially with this podcast, after 126, I don't know how many we have now, but after 126 episodes, it's what kept us going, right?
That's
Like
right.
we're in the midst of a transition right now, but having gone through that vision of a million people is really what kept me going. And it's like, and we see it right between you and I. We're like, okay, so what can we talk about? How can we add more value through these conversations every week, right?
Hmm.
And I'm so excited for that because this year, you know, we're building, right? And you never start over, right? You never start from scratch. And actually, I was talking with somebody about this. You never really start from scratch. You start from a point of experience.
That's
And that
right.
point of experience you can just build on for something bigger and better. And that's what we're doing in 2024. We're building on what we've gone through in 2023 and really getting ourselves to even creating more impact. And I'm going to say we still have that vision, a million people this year, but I think it's going to be more than a million personally.
100% is going to be more than a million people. Technology has allowed us to reach a global audience, which is
Mm-hmm.
super, super exciting. And I want to go back to the very beginning of this conversation. We talked about this resolution time. January is this time for resolution. There's this crazy fact, and I think as humans we know this, and yet we still go down this resolution conversation. But 98% of people that set resolutions fail within the first 3 months of the year. In fact, by mid-February, it's already off the rails. And the reason for that, think of the word resolution. It dictates that we have something to resolve, we have something to fix. And John, me and you both know that part of our NLP training is believing that we're not broken, nothing needs to be fixed. We just need to evolve. We just need to take that ourselves to the next steps. Just like you said, we're coming from a place of experience. So this is why the intention model, as opposed to the resolution model, is the powerful change in your mindset that will help you get focused on that one word, and then forget the how. The how will show up because that word will keep helping you grow. And whatever that word is, whether it be abundance or courageous or adventure, it will show up and it'll say, you need to make a different decision today, John and Heather. And for you, it was your Ironman and abundance. Well, abundance of movement needed to happen. And so there was no decision to sit on the couch because you decided to do an Ironman. So these words are so powerful in propelling us forward to whatever goal that we need to achieve.
Yeah. Well, and you just have to hold the vision, right? Like waking up every morning, just knowing what your word is already starts to set you on a path, set you down a certain way of being, right? And this is, things that we've talked about in other workshops as well, is like, who do you need to be? And, coming from that perspective, I need to be a person that's focused on growth and impact. And that's what I'm waking up with every day, right?
Think about that waking up, and I want to, that this is a great, check-in. Are you setting your day up to be maximum success oriented? And how many of us grab our phone, look at some news, look at email, look at somebody else's information that they want us to read, as opposed to the information that we want to feed our brain? And that's why having it on your screen, your word on your screen, or having a journaling practice in the morning for 5 minutes to talk about how would I like this word to show up for me, or journaling practice at night. But that first moment when your brain is still sort of in that wake up mode, it's got the alpha waves going, this is when stuff can just naturally go into your unconsciousness. So if you're turning on and looking at emails, you're going to miss this opportunity. So that first 5 minutes of waking up, if you can grab a pen and paper, let me tell you, your life's going to change.
Yeah, actually, so as you were saying all of this, the one thing that kind of hit me really, really hard was, why impact, right? And I remember you had when we first met years ago, your vision was to impact 5 people positively every single day. Right. And that's what you woke up with. And I think that's where my impact is coming from. So Heather, I've been hearing you say it so often, it's now like sinking in, but impacting 5 people every day, right? Like, how can and I remember you telling me, waking up in the morning saying, how can I impact 5 people today? How can I impact 5 people positively today? Like, we can impact 5 people in a variety of different ways, but we want to make sure it's positive, right? And, I think about that, how can I, as I wake up in the morning, how can I experience growth and create more impact for myself and for others? Right.
And here's a crazy thing, right? So if you wake up and you say, I'm going to positively impact 5 people today, there's all kinds of things that are going to happen in your day that the universe now brings to you, including being a better driver, because you're not going to be a jerk on the road. So there's just I say that to make you laugh, John, but when we put these intentions out, every part of our life gets impacted in a positive way. So, yes, this positive impact 5 people a day, that was a goal I set many, many years ago. It's a non-negotiable in my life. I'm always looking for it, but that's the beauty of it, is my brain is looking for a way to be of value to other human beings and to be of service to other human beings, which is part of my value system. It's who I want to be and show up as on this planet. So positively impact 5 people a day. And now, I went from positively impacting 5 people a day, and now our goal is 1 million in the year. I think growth is happening. I think that's the other outcome.
Yeah, no, listen, 100%. And I feel like we could spend a whole other podcast episode just talking about values, right? Because your word starts to dictate what your values are. Right. And if you're not happy with the values that you have, like the value systems that are kind of showing up for you, this one word could be the thing that kind of kicks that off for you, right? In terms of where you want to go, in terms of direction. So, wow,
All right.
Heather,
So
I can't believe. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think we're going down the same path. So your call to action, if you're listening with us today, this is the moment to spend 5 minutes with a pen and paper and just, think about the words that make sense to you. Write a whole bunch of them down. We've shared a bunch on this live stream. You can go and Google some intention words as well. And then, circle your top 3 and just sit with those for the next 24 hours. And tomorrow when you wake up, the word that makes sense for you for 2024 is going to pop into your head. Mine is going to do it too, because I'm doing this for myself right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the word that you're going to use as your compass for all of 2024. So, spend that 5 minutes, 10 minutes journaling today. That's your call to action. Believe me, this is one of the most powerful exercises you can do right now to have the best 2024 year that you've ever had in your entire life.
Yeah, actually, and I just want to add one thing. Once you know your word, share it with others. And if you have a team, if you have a family, if you have, close friends, go through this exercise with them too, right? Because you sharing your word with them sharing your word with you, now you've created a community of accountability. So if you want to share your word with us, by all means, we still have the words from a list of people from last year who shared it with us. We're going to keep that, and we'll remind you what those words were at the end of the year. But share them with us. I think there's so much power in that. And then take this and just continue forward and share it with your family, share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues. Go through that exercise because I think it's so powerful. All right. So I can't believe we're already here. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Just remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one. Talk to you all soon. Take care.